Yeah, we're prepared to go into a marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, yeah. Let me say one thing before I came to that, which is apropos of the last one. I was just looking it up. In this constituency,
This is North Down?
No, my constituency is
Yes.
South Belfast. Yeah. And South Belfast used to be an Ulster Unionist constituency. And Alistair MacDonald said, we can win it for a few votes. And he kept telling people that. So he hoovered all the votes to the SDP. And eventually the SDLP won the seat, right? Then the DUP won the seat. And then we had Brexit. And Claire Hanna ran the seat. Now I'm mentioning Claire Hanna because Claire Hanna is not regarded as a typical SDLPer because she's been quite critical also about some stuff in the SDLPer. She's regarded as being as an internationalist and everything else. But she was the most articulate person in Brexit. And there was a small group working here. Myself, Avila, Quinton got together a group to actually work on the general election. We don't usually get involved in general elections, but on a pro-EU basis, because it was appalling that this constituency was represented by a hard Brexit MP when the constituency is quite clearly the most liberal constituency in Northern Ireland and is pro-EU. And we did a lot of work, a lot of canvassing and whatever. And usually the majority is won by not hugely, but I'm just saying Claire Hanna's majority in that election, her majority was higher than any other vote that anybody had got. She had a majority of over 15,000, unheard of in this constituency in a 68% turnout, right? 15,000 majority, streaks ahead. And people were cross-voting in this for people. So the Brexit issue is a game changer. Okay. The people were cross-voting and we had meetings with all pro-EU candidates in the constituency. And we were advising people then that in our assessment, we were going to work for the candidate that was most likely to win the seat. And we talked to the Alliance. We talked to Claire Hanna in the SCP. We talked to the Alliance candidate. We talked to the Ulster Unionist candidate. And what we did is we also built support for other candidates, for other parties in other constituencies so that we had a balanced approach. We supported Danny Kinahan, who's an Ulster Unionist. Didn't win. Stephen Farry, we supported Naomi, whatever, on the same leaflet, asking people to vote for a pro-EU, the person most likely to win, who was pro-EU in that constituency. But the vote came in and people crossed party lines. And I can tell you, even political representatives were choosing to vote not quite apart from the party line to vote for a pro-EU candidate in that election. And I'm talking about unionists as well. Unionists as well as Alliance were voted for. So there's also something to do with all of the parties really having to see how they're reaching out, see how their tone is, see how they're prepared to engage in that debate, how they are willing to work with other parties, including parties they don't agree with, like the DUP. Now, on your issue about violence is a no-no. Nobody in the South is going to want the North as part of a reconfigured Ireland with a lot of violence going on. I don't think. I've had this conversation many times and raised it politically in the South because when I was a student, we used to have a lot of going up north and south and everything else, and I could see the disinterest in the South, in the North, the ignorance in terms of knowledge, absolutely, they didn't want anything to do with it. And I, it's constantly had to be raised that the problem was only only in the North. The problem was also in the South. But over the last several years, I think, this sounds like I'm contradicting myself. Simon Coveney has done a good job.
Sorry, who?
Simon Coveney? Yeah.
Yes.
Has done a good job. The interest has increased. The Irish government has been a little less cautious. I've been doing some work on women, peace and security with them, and Ireland is a world leader on women, peace and security with a number of other nations. But one of the things it's a world leader on is on domestic application of women, peace and security from two perspectives. One is refugees and asylum seekers from other conflicts in Ireland, and the fact that it has a conflict on this island. And usually countries in conflict have a women, peace and security plan, or countries that are not in conflict have a women, peace and security national plan for other countries. So, for example, we have failed to win the UK's support to include Northern Ireland in their women, peace and security plan. And this has been tried this on the same basis for years and years and years. So Ireland has included it, but very minimally on refugees and asylum seekers and women, peace and security in this island. But that has gradually been grown. And you can see that that has improved over the years. And we have been trying to say to people in the UK government, in the Foreign Office and DFID, that we need some symmetry on the north, south and east, west here. You know, that we should be doing this in all parts. So it's not from a wish to only have it in north-south basis, but it's been extremely difficult to actually win a kind of an east-west arrangement. I'm going to try it again with a new person now working in the NIO. But that has been difficult. But violence, I don't think people would be interested. I think the economic factor will be important. I think there are two things around that. First of all, the UK is going to be very economically challenged. And I think Northern Ireland is likely to lose out again, because this place is dependent so heavily on public subvention from Westminster, from Whitehall. And in a post-EU, it's going to be a struggle for the UK, I think, and the income. Maybe somebody else sees it differently, but that's what I think. On the other hand, the Irish economy is doing much, much better. The other counterfactor against that is what's happening in the United States. Quite rightly, I think, in where the Biden government is going on corporation tax internationally. Mm-hmm. But it will have an impact on the successful economy in the South. But they're aware that this was going to come along at some point. So there'll be the economic capacity in the South that wasn't there before, and there'll be less economic capacity in Britain, I would think. That's also, I would say, part of an economic draw. And yet we also need the US investment here, just as has happened in the South, in terms of particularly a lot of those pharmaceutical and IT industry and all of that. My own estimation over the last couple of years, your sister notwithstanding, is there has been a growing and better interest in the South than there had been over the past 15 years, which I find very, very barren. The other thing that's coming out, and I've just signed on to a webinar, I just responded to their survey, and I've just signed on to a webinar that they are doing on Thursday, is the Centre for Cross-Border Studies have had an enormous response to their regular surveys, and they've had they just before we went on air here, I'm just trying to see if I can find it. Yeah. They said that they had a fantastic response. Oh, it was the first. Yeah, a fantastic response to the cross-border